Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. The keener-eyed amongst you will recognise Chris from earlier today, Property Quorum, where we were decimating the parts of the industry that don't look after the people out there that are trying to create good homes for people to live in and police it properly. But right now, we're talking about something that was originally titled Data Overwhelm, but recently Chris has wanted to shorten that by one word and just call it Overwhelm. And I think he's not alone. If I may paraphrase, Chris, and I believe I may, you've got a number of tasks that have to run in parallel. They can't be run in serial. You can't wait for one thing to happen before another. They have to run literally in parallel. And if you, either unconsciously or consciously, delay or don't fulfill one of these tasks, it can have knock-on effects and ramifications that stop your business, for instance, in that one particular instance, expanding.
Yeah, that's right. There's a huge amount of plate spinning that I'm doing at the moment.
Now, but Chris is an adept at plate spinning. In fact, he's proper circus trained and can keep those plates spinning for a good period of time. The only problem is, if one tumbles, there's a potential for all of them to tumble. So Chris, without scaring the pants off everyone listening, or yourself, in fact, how do you deal with, let's go back to the original thing, data overwhelm, because I know a lot of that is about managing time and managing process, but you've got an overall problem here, which is there's just so many plates spinning that you're in danger of starting that domino effect, dropping of plates.
I think the big challenge that we're going through at the moment is that because we are growing, and we're taking on team members left, right, and centre, but we've never had the framework to deal with these new people beforehand. So it's not okay just to bring someone into our business and expect them to know what to do. That's not realistic. So taking the information out of our heads as founders about the elements of the job that we're trying to bring someone into the business to focus on, that takes a huge amount of time. So I was talking to you as we came on just about the data overwhelm, the problem that I have. I mentioned that we're paying for a really incredible piece of software to the tune of like £200 a month that helps us find sites.
But you're not even getting £200 worth of value out of it, are you? Really?
No, not even close. Not even close. So one of the team members that we have is responsible for lead generation, and we've got it bolted down what she does on a day-to-day basis, but we want to provide her with some additional work because a small part of what we do is finding sites using this software, because we have a huge roster of clients. And they have each have a different investment specification of what they're looking for, where they're looking for it, and the types of strategies that they do. It's taken me probably the best part of a month just to pull together from our systems all of the data into something that's meaningful for our lead generation body to understand, but also to then have the future training session with the software provider and them understand what we're trying to do. And so we can
dare I say it, this may have been the first time that you've ever fully opened your eyes wide, taken the blinkers off, and seen what's truly involved in it. Because a lot of the time I suspect you've developed your processes organically through falling over, getting a bloody nose, picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, changing direction, getting a grazed arm, whatever, and then finding what works consistently. Now, when you're at the time when you're required to break this down to someone who'd never come across this before, I'm talking about your member of staff, not the software people, that makes you view it with 20/20 vision, does it not?
It's incredibly challenging. Yeah, absolutely.
But good for you. I mean, I don't mean in the sense of patting you on the shoulder. I mean, it's been good for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's, I guess, in some ways, it's a good problem to have. The challenge that I'm experiencing is that it's all coming at once. So my time is very finite, and there's lots of stuff that I have to get on with it during my working day already, and then I'm kind of increasing my workload by a factor of 5 with all the additional roles that we're trying to have documented, and all the additional work that's come out of having to um, prepare our job roles, our focus, or refocusing our activities, just to kind of extract all this information that's already in our heads and put it down into paper.
But this is, dare I say it, and I'm sorry, maybe I'm being the eternal optimist here, but which I'm normally quite a cynic. So, but I see this not just intrinsic to your future success, but a point at which you define structure for the entire company, because this is when you actually see this particular part, which is lead gen, in its place within the pantheon of other activities that you've got constantly flying around.
Yeah.
And more importantly, you're laying down the structure. So if you need any further people to work with either that area or a allied area, let's say you brought someone in to work on sales of some sort, and they say, look, we've already defined how it all works. Look through this. It's a really incredibly useful, if very irritating, task that you've been performing here.
It's incredibly painful and incredibly overwhelming, trying to get it right, or at least some sort of semblance of some meaning that someone else can come and look at.
And I probably quite humbling as well when you realise, and please allow me this, how far you've come.
To some extent, yeah, and to some extent, it's kind of surprising that we've managed to do what we've done, because there are other areas of the business, for example, the hiring of the project managers and the scaling of on the construction side of things, that there's no way I want to continue to do it the way that we have been doing it. So we're bringing in absolute experts in their field, people like Michelle, who was on the show earlier.
It's the whole thing about outsourcing to trusted sources, because that way you're going to start, hopefully, I mean, this is the theory at least, get portions of your life back. We've already talked about how oversubscribed on time you are, but you know, you shouldn't have to have a direct line connection to every site that you're working on. There's just too many of them now. Now you need effectively project managers to run groups of sites so that you can stop worrying about that and perhaps worry about something else. But yes?
Yeah, well, that's exactly where we're taking the business at the moment. I mean, I also mentioned that we're having consultants prepare documentation around the business plans, and because we're doing a big capital raise at the moment, and it's taken another month of my time just getting that documentation.
Have you thought about a fractional HR director, of somebody who's not there full time but allows you a few hours a month where they can actually make sure that your basic processes for managing humans is cohesive and constructive? No pun intended.
No, I've given it some very slight thought, but no. And again, it's something else that I need. So there are some known unknowns in our business in terms of the management structure as well. So yeah, some sort of fractional or virtual HR director, some similar in terms of the finance director as well. These are all known unknowns.
Finance director, although important, if you've managed to get to where you've got to, I think at the moment you've got that on lock. The problem is it's dealing with humanity, especially with the rule changes on the way in which you deal with people who have, for instance, jobs outside of what you do, but also work with you, the IR35 nonsense and everything in between. Yeah. I do think you probably need to at least have a consultative look at that at some point. Yes, and then you may scream in your head, but where's the time? Yeah, I know this. But I think if you don't, you could be setting yourself up for a domino effect situation.
Yeah, I agree. And there's so much that is still not documented in the business, or because we've been such a small business for a while, it's things will change very fluidly, very quickly, and like you say, organically. And yeah, how
Well,
we're doing.
it's a case of can open, worms everywhere. Otherwise,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Very much so.
But guys, look, this may sound terrible and terrifying, and probably there are moments where it is. But in actual fact, this represents the growing pains of a company that's transitioning from having small business thinking to medium and, dare I say, working towards large business thinking. Because small business thinking is you do everything, you yourself are the backstop for everything, you're involved in every decision that's made, and you need to have your finger on the pulse of every activity that goes on. Medium business thinking is you break that down into subsections of small business groups, each which takes its cue from you, but actually works to a certain extent autonomously and reports back to you. A large business thinking is where you've got multiple groups within which are but you're not there yet and you don't need to be. But this change between small and medium-sized business thinking can be painful. And will create
overwhelming.
Yes, going back to the original title. What I would say is, I'm going to be trite, and you'll probably grimace at me saying this, but you know how to eat an elephant. You eat it a little bit at a time. So breaking it down into its subsequent sections, realizing you are just, whatever you think of yourself, you are just a man, and therefore there's only so much you can throw at it. You need a life as well, Chris. Otherwise, you're going to be eating, sleeping, and drinking this stuff.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's a case of time, and I do know what the answer to that is, and I know that I need to prioritize, but it's all important, and it all needs to happen yesterday.
You could take a leaf out of the education book, which is, schools have inset days.
Yeah,
I think you should book ahead of time that are inalienable, that you cannot change them, that they are fixed points in time, and you advertise them as such, say 1-2 days a month, which are your inset days, during which time the only focus you will have is working on the business rather than just being in the business.
It's a reasonable idea. Yeah. Very much so.
And I'm not talking about a weekend, Chris. I'm talking about like a day in the week, maybe a Wednesday or something. I don't know. But you pick it and you say, today, you, referring to the team, and me, are going to work on trying to cover these bases, your task list of the various different ones you're going to achieve. And like a project management thing, you're gradually working towards the goal, but the idea is there are certain ones you need to get done before anything else.
And you do that with the team?
I do that with mine every month. Because otherwise, look, I'm not at the same point as you, Chris. I'm well behind. But we've hit 6 figures now, right? And that means the knock-on effect with that there's a lot of stuff flying around. And if I didn't stop at some point, I'd spend all my time waking up, raising invoices, talking to people, chasing this, finding that out, trying to do the testing that we have to do on LinkedIn to see what the hell changed over the weekend, going back to old clients and seeing whether or not there's something else we could, on and on and on and on. We would never get any reasonable structure. The only way we can do it is by having a point where we stop. So 1 day a month at the moment. And I heartily recommend you do something similar.
Yep, I like it. I'll take that one.
All right.
For me, so far, every day is a learning day.
Yes, And that, in many ways, is what's going to keep you excited in your business. I think the day that you go into work or you wake up and think, same shit, different day, that's when you should start thinking, maybe I should do something else. But while it is challenging you in a way that you don't always have the solution straight to hand, because that's a good thing, isn't it? You only grow, you don't grow into occupied space, you grow into space that's not occupied. The whole essence of the expanding universe and all the rest of it. You don't expand into existing universe, do you? Expand into stuff which is void. In the same way is to expand your knowledge and expand your ability. You've got to expand into that void. And that's, if that's challenging, so be it. And it should be so. Sorry, it sounds like a lecture. I'm trying to say to you, you can do this.
Yes, yeah. It's like I say, it's time in the day, and it is draining. Certainly working 12 to 15-hour days is challenging for anyone. Yeah,
and I'm sure monetary returns excellent, and I'm sure your business partner is excited as you are about the prospects of the future. But I think you need to stop and smell the bloody coffee once in a while. And I don't just mean a holiday, although that's probably something desperately needed. I mean, we could take a leaf out of Juliet's books, frankly, on that score. Say no more. But I think if you could put some time aside where you're only working on that, you're just working on finishing off and finalizing those aspects of the business that allows you to document all the different features and also processes, that will give you the clarity you desire. And if you could just, as I said, nail it down that that particular period of time is not to be used for anything else, it's just that.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, guys, I hope you found that useful. I think there are so many people out there that are at this same transition, that are at the point where it stopped being a home business done in a garage on a pasting table and turned into something where people are focused. In your case, where you're employing groups of people, where you are becoming an industry, if you like. And if without processes and structures, you could easily end up falling foul of all sorts of things. Whether at the very least it's just people aren't getting what they expected to, and at the very worst, falling foul of some sort of laws, doctrines, or precepts. So this is a good thing, and it's good that we're talking about this. As I said before we came on, the first way to deal with a problem is to acknowledge it exists.
Yeah, I think there are going to be many business owners who are going through exactly the same thing, and understanding how to, I guess, deal with that overwhelm and prioritize it is really important.
So I'm going to suggest, Chris, that we report back in, say, 6 months' time and see whether or not perhaps these changes are helping you find less overwhelm and more redirect it into positive energy.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so watch this space. I hope you've enjoyed today. I certainly have. I'm sorry if I felt a bit lectury, but I think sometimes when you're faced with it and there's so much continuous stuff, I think you need a new radical idea to come along, to come and say, hang on, full stop. Let's kind of work out what the bits are left, and then we can start going again. Until next week, I wish all of you try and keep your feet on the ground, but always keep reaching for the stars. Please remember to wear some sunscreen. 2 of my friends have been severely sunburnt recently in the UK. Oh, those climate naysayers need a shake-up. And also, of course, look after your mental health. And till next week, I wish you all a wonderful weekend. And thank you so much, Chris. Great insights, good chat. Bye-bye now.